Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're sifting through something really quite unique. A collection of letters from the legendary direct mail copywriter Gary Halbert to his son Bond. They're known as the Boron Letters.
That's right. And they were written while he was in a federal prison camp in Boron, California, back in the 80s. So, they're not your standard business book at all.
Not at all. It's this raw mix of really gritty life lessons, advice on health and mindset, but also these incredibly sharp insights into marketing, specifically direct mail copywriting.
Exactly. And our goal here, I think, is to really dive deep and pull out those core lessons. We want to look at the underlying emotional drivers, the psychological principles behind why people do what they do, both in life and, of course, in marketing.
And we should acknowledge up front, a lot of the specific techniques, the direct mail stuff from the 80s, might seem dated. But the real focus for us, and for you listening, is understanding the timeless reasons why they worked. That psychology is just as relevant now in 2025.
Absolutely. The mechanics change, postage, printing, all that, but the human element, that stays constant. So let's maybe start with the foundation he builds, even before he gets into the marketing tactics proper.
Yeah, it's striking how much weight he puts on just fundamental life skills and mindset. He sees them as critical for success in, pretty much anything, including business. He talks a lot about health, exercise, diet, even fasting.
He really connects physical discipline to mental toughness. There's that story he tells about trying to run this hill near the prison. The first time was apparently just brutal for him.
Right, but then he tried it again the second time, and he could run it nonstop.
And Bond, his son, actually mentions having a similar experience. I think it was on a mountain bike, conquering some steep hill.
Yeah.
The lesson feels bigger than just running or biking, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's that try it twice idea, that first attempt at anything really hard, learning a skill, a physical challenge, a business idea. It's almost always, messy. It feels like a failure sometimes.
But if you expect that, if you know the first go is mainly about learning, it makes that second attempt so much easier psychologically.
And Bond points out that just having that mindset, being willing to push past that first wall, puts you way ahead of, he says 95% of people who just quit. That's a huge mental advantage.
He's also really big on self-reliance, fiercely so. Don't depend on others, he says, because then you always have an excuse ready if things fail. And there's that strong advice about keeping your big goals quiet.
Yeah, don't tell people who are likely to shoot them down, friends, family, whoever.
He seemed convinced that people often project their own fears or limitations onto you, or they might even feel a bit threatened if you aim high. Bond actually confirms his dad was willing to actively cut negative people out of his life.
It reminds me a bit of that story about the doctor who figured out ulcers came from bacteria. The whole medical establishment just ridiculed him because it flew in the face of everything they thought they knew.
Right. And instead of just arguing endlessly, he eventually just, did the work, proved it by curing people. Sometimes just demonstrating results is way more powerful than arguing with naysayers.
Halbert also talks about using action writing and exercise specifically to manage stress. He calls it clearing the deck. He even points out, I think in one letter, how shaky his handwriting is because of adrenaline after some stressful event.
That's such a key insight. When you're stressed or angry or tired, your ability to think clearly, strategically, just plummets. Doing something physical, or even just the act of writing it out, helps process those feelings, helps you get clarity back. He puts it really simply. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it moving. Action breaks the stalemate.
Attitude is another big one for him. He flat out says it's the most important thing for making money and tells Bond to look for enthusiasm when he hires people.
And there's that slightly odd but interesting lesson about not appearing weak. He argues that being defensive actually invites aggression. He uses the metaphor of developing strong arms not really to fight, but as a fight avoider.
Just the physical presence sends a signal that you're not an easy target. His son even tells a story about a friend noticing his dad's powerful arms, kind of validating that idea.
And you can see how that applies metaphorically, right? Mm-hmm. In business, in negotiations, projecting confidence and strength, not desperation, changes the whole dynamic.
Staying aware, being ready, that's another theme. Knowing your field, being prepared when an opportunity, a break comes along.
He compares it to poker. Everyone gets good hands and bad hands. The winners are the ones who play what they're dealt well, exploit the good hands, cut losses on the bad. But that readiness, he stresses, isn't just luck. It comes from hard work. He says, I work like crazy.
Okay, so that's the foundation. Mindset, discipline, awareness. How does he then take this understanding of people and apply it to his, well, legendary marketing and copywriting?
Right. This is where we shift from the personal to influencing others. And the absolute bedrock principle, the most fundamental thing for him, is market first, product second.
Find the hot market first. Find a group of people already eager to buy something before you even worry about the specific product.
Precisely. A great product won't magically create demand, but you can almost always find or tweak a product for a market that's already hungry. He'd study things like the SRDS, that's a directory of mailing lists, looking for proof.
Proof that people were already spending money.
Exactly. Like finding lists of people who had recently dropped, say, $5,000 on average buying diamonds. That shows you a proven, motivated market. His point was, don't be the guy who invents some widget and then desperately tries to find someone, anyone, to buy it.
Okay, so you find your hot market. Now, how do you get your message noticed? Especially back then in the clutter of mail. That's the A pile, B pile thing, right?
Yeah, people sort their mail instinctively. A pile is the important stuff. Personal letters, bills gets opened right away. B pile is the junk mail. The ads often go straight in the bin. Your marketing piece has to feel like it belongs in that A pile.
And he had specific tricks for that, didn't he? Like using a real stamp, not the bulk rate meter.
Right, a live stamp. Typing or handwriting the address, no label, no company name on the return address. Little things to make it look personal, not like a mass mailing.
But the really famous ones are the physical attachments, right? The baggies of dirt, the coins.
The Japanese penny, the Mexican peso, yeah.
What's the psychology there?
It's pure intrigue, isn't it? Just raw curiosity. Why on earth did someone send me this? It makes you stop, look, focus your attention immediately, even before you've read a word.
Now look, are you going to be mailing out baggies of dirt in 2025? Probably not standard practice. But that principle, creating intrigue, standing out, it's exactly the same challenge today.
It's your email subject line.
Exactly. Or your social media hook, your video thumbnail, that first sentence of your ad. Anything that cuts through the noise and makes someone pause and think, what's this about? Getting that initial open, that click.
Okay, so you've grabbed their attention. Now you need to persuade them. He used the classic ADA formula, right? Attention, interest, desire, action. Yep, a tried and true structure. We've covered attention. Next is interest. Once you have their focus, you feed them facts, details that are relevant to them, and the offer.
So if it's Maui real estate, you give them specifics.
Specifics about the investment potential, maybe, or the quality of the beach sand, the kinds of fish nearby. Details that resonate with someone who might actually be interested in Maui property. You build that interest logically.
Then comes desire, and this is where the emotion comes in, right?
This is all about emotion. You stop talking about features and start describing the benefits. How will owning this product or service make them feel? He talks about helping the prospect picture with pleasure the outcome.
So it's not just more money from an investment.
No, it's the feeling of security, the status of a new car, the comfort of a nice house, the freedom to travel, maybe attracting a partner, or just buying back your own leisure time. He uses that example of describing stepping into a warm jacuzzi, making it sensory, making them feel the benefit.
And finally, action. After all that, you have to make it dead simple for them to actually do the thing you want them to do. Order, call, click.
Yeah, he called it taking the reader by the hand. Super clear instructions. Using things like over at the bottom of a page seems so basic, but it guides them. You need the order forms, the brochures, photos, whatever makes ordering easy. But, and this was key for him, show that stuff after the letter has done its job, building desire, they support the action, they don't create the initial desire.
Another huge psychological lever he used was personalization, making the reader feel like the message was just for them.
Absolutely. Just using their name, Dear Bond, makes a difference compared to Dear Sir. But he took it further, talking about double customizing.
Like tailoring offers for specific groups.
Exactly. An offer just for cardiologists or someone trading in a specific car model or even using their family name. It taps into that deep need to feel seen, special, valued, the you are so special angle.
And the ultimate example of that has to be the family crest snapshot letter.
Oh yeah, sending people an actual photo of their family crest. He framed it as something left over from a PR thing, making it feel exclusive, like a unique opportunity tied just to them and their heritage.
And the results were apparently staggering, like $40 million in sales from that one letter.
That's the story. It wasn't really about the crest itself, obviously. It was about triggering that powerful feeling of being unique, being singled out. He also achieved personalization just by weaving in his own details, dates, times, feelings, stories about his cat, life in prison. It makes the writing feel more real, builds that connection.
There's also that kind of uncomfortable point he makes about what people say versus what they do.
Yeah, the gap between stated preference and actual behavior. It's huge. People often give the answer they think sounds good, or the right answer.
Like those old beer surveys, everyone says they drink premium, but the sales show they mostly buy regular beer. Or claiming to read highbrow stuff while secretly buying tabloids.
Exactly. People feel guilty or want to project a certain image. So the lesson for marketers, or anyone trying to persuade, is crucial. Pay way more attention to what people actually do, their buying habits, their actions, than what they say in a survey. Halbert trusted the hard data from those mailing lists showing who was spending money.
And finally, he talks about the actual craft of writing, but always with one goal in mind.
Response. Getting orders. He stressed writing for clarity, making it easy for the reader to understand and just keep reading, using simple transition words onward, now, and so to keep the flow smooth.
It wasn't about showing off how clever a writer you were.
Not at all. He was really blunt. If you are writing for applause, you will go home with empty pockets. The only thing that mattered was whether the letter worked, whether it got the sale.
And he had that technique for learning, right? Copying good ads.
By hand, yeah, and reading them aloud. He believed it helped internalize the rhythm, the structure, the flow of copy that actually persuades. Like practicing scales if you're a musician. He called it internal imprinting, making it second nature.
So bringing this all back to 2025. Okay, the specifics of direct mail BREs, physical attachments, they're different now. Less common, maybe.
The medium is totally different, sure.
Yeah.
Email, social media, video. But the underlying human psychology that Halbert understood so deeply, that hasn't changed one bit.
People still crave attention in a world drowning in information.
They're still fascinated by the unexpected, the thing that breaks the pattern. They still respond powerfully when they feel genuinely special or unique.
They're still driven more by the emotional payoff, the feeling of comfort, status, security, avoiding pain, than just a list of product features.
And they still need clarity. They need to know exactly what you want them to do next, and it needs to be easy. And maybe most critically, their actions often speak way louder than their words about what they truly want or value.
So the core lesson isn't really about mail versus email versus TikTok. It's about understanding that person on the other end and communicating in a way that connects with those timeless, fundamental human drives.
Exactly. The Boron Letters are this potent mix of life wisdom learned the hard way, fused with brilliant marketing insights, all built on that bedrock understanding of human nature.
Those principles, persistence, self-reliance, awareness, and then the psychological keys like attention, interest, desire, action, personalization, understanding real motivations, they feel just as powerful today as when you write them down in that prison camp.
So maybe a final thought for you listening is to consider. Where in your own life, or maybe in how you try to communicate or connect with others, might you be neglecting one of these core timeless principles? Are you quitting too soon? Are you selling features instead of feelings? Are you listening too much to what people say instead of watching what they do? Maybe revisiting these ideas forged in such a unique place could be the thing that unlocks better results for you.